Yeah.
And you need that.
Yep. Sweet. Brock told me I look tired today, so I was looking at that picture like, oh, that's old. And so am I. So, welcome. And I appreciate those that have attended. I know you've got choices. I was looking in the other room, like scowling at a few of my friends over there. But maybe they've heard me speak too much. So I have an opportunity fairly often to go meet with our executive team of BBSI. And so I've been doing this now for 15 years. And I learned really quickly, we always go to dinner. So the night before, like our meetings, we always go to dinner. And it's a whole, cocktail hour and then sit down. And there's usually about 20 people in the room. And what I noticed really early on is you'd walk in and we have, our CEO, CFO, COO, and a few other of the leadership team. And we'd walk in, and a lot of times in a restaurant, they just have big, long tables they've put together, right? And so I would kind of be like, where should I sit? And I've watched all of you come in and decide, where do I sit, right? And so some people come in and they go to the very end of the table because they're friends here. And they only then have to talk to their friend. I saw other people that would go right to the middle of the table because they wanted to be in the middle and the center of attention. And as I observed this, I watched and I saw, well, this person already knew this person, and this person, did they get anything valuable? They had to sit there for 2 hours while everybody talked, and they talked to the person they already knew really well. And so I decided early on, well, I'm going to take my shot and just try to sit by folks, not always the CEO, because that will get obnoxious, and you don't want to be the brown noser in the room, but sometimes that works out pretty good too. And so I've taken an opportunity each time I go in to go, who could I learn from? Who maybe is doing a little bit better than me that I could go sit by or learn from? So 2 weeks ago, I was in Denver, had this experience, walked in, and had to figure out. And by the way, I anticipated making all of you sit by each other and coming front, but you guys did so good. You sat by each other. Now, if you know all the people you're sitting by, at least try to expand your horizons a little bit. But I had this opportunity to go in, and I was like, well, I'm going to sit just kind of not right in the middle, but right here. Nobody was sitting really down yet and trying to choose. And I looked up, and the CEO came down, and he sat next to me. And I was like, all right. And so about halfway through dinner, he leans back, and he says, Jeremy, look at this. And he shows me his phone. And on his phone, he has a picture. He has a 7-year-old. He has a 21-year-old and a 7-year-old. He has a 7-year-old. And his 7-year-old singing in his school concert. And he's like, look what I'm missing today. And I was like, oh, we're going to have like a tender conversation today, right? And anyway, the short version of the story is it proceeded to talk about kids and family. And I recognized that he knew that that was important to me. And I talk about my family and my kids a lot. And I realized that he hadn't talked to his older son for like 2 or 3 weeks. They were kind of in a fight. He'd given him some money to buy a car, and he bought a car, and then he went and traded it for a Corvette. And then Dad said, you don't get to live with me anymore if you buy a Corvette. And so it was a whole thing. And so we were having this nothing about BBSI or business or anything else. But what I recognized through that is we all have value, and we all have things that others are looking for from us as well, not just what we're looking from them. So as you walk into a room, look for opportunities certainly to learn and gain from other people, but also recognize you may have things that you can share and give to others. The one thing that whenever I go to these things, has anybody ever heard the quote that comparison is the death of joy, right? Sometimes when we come to these things, what happens? Do you compare yourself to others? Good, to you?
Yeah, so James Clark walks in, like that guy went to Cedar Badge Scout Camp with it up at Treasure Mountain Scout Camp. He was just a couple years older than me. Thought he was kind of a dork. Just kidding. He was cool. He was like one of the Cedar Badge leaders, right? And I'm like, I know this guy, and I've kind of tracked him over the years. Yeah, he went to Harvard and then Oxford. He's giving away his money now. Like, you're like, what did I do, right? And you can get wrapped up in that comparison, right? But I don't know if you saw or heard him as well. But and where I want to go with this, and I don't even show my slides because it's like Jeremy's epiphanies in the middle of the night. So that death is a comparison of joy. When we walk away from these kinds of things, I think we need to stop looking at, wow, I didn't do enough or I'm not enough, but that I have something to give and that I am. And what does that look like? And so as I thought of this in my own life, I thought, well, yeah, I didn't go to Harvard. I'm not giving away millions of dollars. But I started looking through, and if you ever want to do this, and I hope your phone does this for you. If it doesn't, I'm sorry for this analogy. But I just went through, and you know how on your iPhone you can go like by year, right? And you can kind of start looking through. And so I looked back through the last year, and I thought, I actually have done some pretty cool things. I've been on some cool trips. I've done some cool things with work and with business, right? And stopped comparing to somebody else and just had gratitude for my own thing. And what I loved about what James Clark said is, and I just had an opportunity to go see Ed Mylett. Did you guys ever listen to Ed Mylett? Anybody? If you haven't, you should. And I'll show you a picture. But you can have, anybody know anybody that's really, really rich? Anybody know anybody that's really, really rich and unhappy? Anybody know anybody that's really, really rich, that their personal life or their family or their relationships or just internally or personally, they're kind of a mess? And they're really not happy. But anybody know anybody that's rich and happy? We know a few of those people too. And what I found as far as that pattern, and James Clark said it yesterday, Ed Mylett said it when I listened to him on Tuesday, is because they use the resources to give to other people. Dave likes that. He's like, yeah, say that again, Jeremy. And by the way, CEI. Right? Like giving those resources, and James talked a lot about this, gives you, I don't want to say satisfaction, because I love what James said about like getting your name on the building, right? Like there is something about that, and there's some ego about that. But certainly the opportunity when he talked about being in Peru and helping somebody that walked into a room that couldn't see leave the room and be able to see, that's pretty impactful. So I want to show you a couple pictures.
And since he left you the mic, I will narrate them for you.
Sweet. Okay. This is why I'm tired. So last night, I was like gonna cry over this picture. My wife took this picture. These are my two boys. I have four boys. This is Gavin and Eli. There was no crying intended in this talk today. This is because I got back here at 2 a.m. this morning. But resources, right? This on my phone about a year ago. It's been less than a year. Popped up and said, Inter Miami's coming to play Real Salt Lake. Messi's coming. This kid right here went to Argentina for a couple of years, and while he was there, Argentina won the World Cup. He had to stay in his apartment for a couple of days because the streets were packed with people shooting guns in the air, lighting fires, and celebrating
Argentina winning the World Cup. Any soccer fans in the room? Football, like, this is a big deal, right? Like, I took my kid to the Super Bowl last night. Like, we were, we were like, it's not a very good picture, but I'll show you. Like, that's the man right there, right? It's a pretty cool experience to be somewhere where every time somebody gets close, everybody's phones go up, and they're like he tried like, I don't know how many shots on goal he had, but 5 or 6. He never made a goal. It was like heartbreaking. Like the whole crowd, including the Real fans, were like, come on. They didn't want him to score because they wanted to beat him pretty bad. But just a cool experience to be able to do that. I'm not giving away millions of dollars by any means. I'm not the philanthropist that certainly someday I would love to be. But some of the things that I've been able to do and resources that I've been able to gain have allowed me to do something like that. This was on Tuesday. This is Ed Mylett. He's currently right here calling me Randy Travis's grandson. You may get that joke if you look at me. Somebody who kept saying they're making the Randy Travis reference, and he was polite enough to say, I don't think you're Randy Travis, but maybe his grandson. And I was like, thank you. I will tell you, the Ed Mylett is I thanked him for the words that he said because it was very impactful, and he's an incredible speaker. He said something that was really important to me, and he said, I meant every word that I said. He didn't have to, like, he's Ed Mylett. He was on the Joe Rogan show yesterday. He left Twin Falls, Idaho, went to Boston, and is on the Joe Rogan show. Like, the dude, like, didn't even need to come to Twin Falls, Idaho. He made a connection with somebody there. They still paid him a lot of money to be there. But he spoke to 300 people and then spent time with us, up on the stage. Gratitude and giving back. So you're like, what does this have to do, Jeremy, with scale and growth? And it has nothing to do with it. But it does in the sense that your ability to do that is awesome. And we're going to talk about a couple of ways and things to do that in a shortened version of my long slides. But I think we all need to talk about and think about the why behind what we're doing. I think that's the most important thing is as you're looking at and you hear that a lot, and I don't want to overdo it, but as you're looking at your opportunities in life, as maybe you're doing some comparison, couple of things. One is have gratitude for where you're at. Look back and say, man, I actually have done some cool things, and I'm trying and I'm giving. The other day at the gas station, there was this old van. It was like the Scooby-Doo van. And it was I parked next to me where I was getting gas, and I went inside, and there was this lady in there, and she was doing the card swipe thing, and it wasn't working, right? And so I went in another line and got my drink, and I went back out to my car, and I see her, and she comes out, and I'm finishing filling up, and she's leaning against her van, and she's on her phone, like frantically texting. I got in my car, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with her. Got in my car, and I went to drive away, and I was like, no, like something. And so I stopped, and I was like, just talk to her, just make sure she's okay. Oh, that's weird. Like, it's weird. And I looked back, she's still standing there, so I shut off my car. I got back out, and I said, hey, do you need some gas? And she's like, yeah, I do. And she's like, I just can't get my card to work, and I'm trying to find somebody, and I'm trying to get to work. Love that because I was able to say, where do you work? Because I wanted to know, right? And maybe that's me judging, but I wanted to know, where are you going to work? And she said, I'm the music teacher at Yukon Elementary. And I said, here, let me put my card in and fill up with gas. And she's like, just put $10 in and I'll Venmo, and I'll give you my Venmo. And I was like, no, just here's the deal. Like, my my swiped. You do what you want to do, and you're not, like, there's no Venmo, right? It made no difference in my life. Like, and I think she did $15. It made no difference, but it got her to her job, right? So again, like, looking for opportunities and resources, and again, my lack of sleep sent me on this journey of telling you these things because I think we can walk away feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and we don't know enough about AI, and we can walk away going, was that impactful? Was it not impactful? And I think there's a lot of opportunity here to just look at what you can do next. What's your next move? So when we talk about growth and scale, most businesses don't just fail, they stall. And I want you to think about this. When I say they stall, who is they? You? Us? Right? I put these slides together and I'm like, who is business? Like, what is business? That's just us, right? That's all of us. We're the business, right? We stall. Why do we stall? Why do you stall? Yeah. Fear? Yeah. Out of ideas, out of energy. Comfortable. Yeah. Yeah. I talked to a client. He's like, honestly, Jeremy, I don't want to grow. I was like, you don't want to make any more money? I was like, no. I'm like, why? He's like, I pay my bills. I go home at 6 o'clock. Why? Now, I challenged that, and that's what we're going to talk about, because I said, well, what if you could do all of those same things and grow? He's like, well, yeah, of course. Then I would want to make more money, but I got to go home at 6 o'clock. And I was like, that's fair. So there's lots of reasons that we stall, right? So this is an obnoxious drawing here, and I wish I could draw it on a board because it makes more sense. But this is so often, right, the beginning of who's in early stage, like starting a business, started a business, is it exciting? Is it fun? Yeah, like there's this uninformed optimism, I like to call it. Like, I've got money over here and time over here. I don't have a lot of time and I don't have a lot of money, but I'm going to build this thing, right? And it's exciting and it's fun. And then the growth stage, who maybe is in growth stage? Who's in, like, my business is working a little bit. Like, I actually made some money, right? That's kind of a fun place. Who's maybe in the plateau stage where you're starting to feel like, we're not growing as much, or we're not growing? I see a couple of hands, right? And so what happens, right, is in this curve, what will happen, right, is when we get to the plateau stage is usually when we start going, maybe I don't have the right employees. Maybe something's wrong. Maybe it's me. Maybe my product isn't as good as I thought it was. Maybe something's wrong. I'm putting out a lot of fires. It seems like I'm putting out a lot of fires every day. How do I get out of my own way, right? If we don't do anything at that point, the curve continues and we go to the decline stage. I'm not going to ask any of you if you're in that stage. Brock says he is. You better not be. When we get to the decline stage is when we usually show up to RizeCon and go, I got to fix everything, right? And so we're entrepreneurs. We're grit. We have grit and grind because we're from Idaho, and we say, I'm going to fix everything. I'm going to get on this. I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to get this done. And so we do that, and we do it again. And we go through the same vicious cycle. If we do that over and over again, if you draw a line from the top of that plateau and you keep going, we always hit a ceiling, right? We talk about a ceiling, right? I had a client that was like, we drew this out, and I said, what would be the revenue or profitability number over on this side that's plateau for you? And he goes, every year we hit $2 million. And as soon as we hit $2 million, we start going down because it gets challenging, things break, it gets complicated. we get a customer that we didn't take as good a care of, and so we lose a customer and it goes down. And I said, and then what do you do? And he's like, well, when you get down to about 1.5, 1.6 million, we fix everything and we get back because, we got to do it or we're not going to pay our bills. And so we fix everything and we get to $2 million and we do it again. And by the way, we've been doing that for 4 years. And I said, all right, so what if we jump backwards, right? And when we're in this growth stage, which is really hard to do, when we're in this growth stage, we start the relever now, right? So we take the opportunities along the way, and this is really hard to do because as a business owner, we're running fast, and we're usually running with our head down, and we have a hard time looking up. I appreciate all of you coming to an event like this because it means you're taking time, and you're lifting your head up, you're getting some oxygen, which you need to be able to relever sooner, right? Because I don't want you to do that over and over and over. So here's what we see, and there's other things that create the stall around you, and so we're going to focus just for the last 5 minutes here on kind of the people side of it and the leadership side. How many of you have heard people before profit or profit before people? What's right? I hear a lot of people before profit. Anybody want to argue that? Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So I had a good friend. He's built a huge nationwide dental practice group. He has a CEO of his company, and he got a box in the mail one day. And the CEO called him. He's like, hey, did you get that box? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, have you opened it? He's like, no. He's like, go open it. And so he goes over and he cuts it open and he pulls it out. And it's a T-shirt. And it says, people before profit. And it has the company logo on it. And the CEO is distributing to all the employees because he wants to build a great culture within his company. And the owner goes, well, if we don't have any profit, we're not going to have any people. So both are probably true, right? So the mistakes that we see, ignoring people, ignoring culture, and ignoring leadership or leading, right? So I'm going to skip through some of these. But over 31 employees are engaged at work and 17% are actively disengaged. 450 billion lost every year. Turnover, productivity, customer experience. I went to my favorite restaurant the other day downtown. Brock and I went, took an insurance guy. The server comes up. How thrilled was the server to be there that day, Brock? He was like Eeyore. Like, hey, get you anything to drink? Yeah, you can. That'd be great. Customer experience will suffer, right, if we're not focused on these things. He was very disengaged. I don't know, maybe he was having a bad day, but Brock said, no, he was like that last time. So maybe culturally there's, some issues or problems, right? I want to talk about this because I think it's important whether you are the owner and you have no management team and you are the direct impact to your employees, or you have management level people in there. The number one thing the surveys say over and over and over is your direct supervisor, your direct boss has the most impact on your happiness or success at work. Does anybody believe that? If you show up every day and your boss is kind of a jerk, do you love your job? Brock, don't say, just be quiet. And it has the biggest impact on how they interact, right? So I used to own video game stores of all things. I'm not a gamer, but I thought video games would be cool. And I bought this franchise. And I quickly learned, right, that my example to my employees and how we trained and focused them had the biggest impact on the outcome of our day and our sales. And what I mean by that, right, is our server, and you guys all experience this and see this at a restaurant, right? what I would quickly see is I would hire people, they had worked some retail before, and so they would do the death of retail question that I hate, and they would walk up to the customer, because I told them, you got to go talk to everybody that walks in the door. So they walked up to the customer, and they would say the notorious line, which is, oh, who said it? What can I help you find? What do you always say when somebody asks you that? Nothing. And what do they say? Great, I'll be over here if you need me. Right? And what happens? You need them in like 2 minutes because you're like, I have a question, and that's weird now. So I'm just going to leave. And you leave, right? Like, it's weird. I don't know how it started in retail. So I said, hey, why don't we talk to our customers like they're their family or friend, right? And why don't we build a culture around that everybody that walks in here is just like, we already know them. And they were like, all right, how do we do that? And so some people are naturally really good at it. Others, I had to help them. I had to focus them and help them train. I was hiring some gamers. Sometimes I had to say, stop telling mom about level 7. She doesn't know what you're talking about, right? But how easy it is in a video game store, right? I've got a whole display of Xbox games, and a guy walks in, and he's 17 years old, and he's standing in front of all the Xbox games. I don't need to say, is there anything I can help you find? He's there looking at Xbox games. What can I say? Hey, what are you playing? What are you looking at? They have a Dallas Cowboys hat on. It's easy, right? Like, hey, about them Cowboys, right? Like, what would you say different than that, right? So when we think of these things and how it impacts our customers, it's really important. And I'm going to close with this. So rolling up your sleeves even when you don't have to. So we're in the fixology room. I've seen Becca. Do you still make drinks sometimes? Is that okay? Should you be doing that? Aren't you the CEO? Are you the CEO? I don't know if you're CEO of Fixology. Should you be making me a dirty Diet Mountain Dew? Why? Yeah. If you don't do it, what will happen to your business? Yeah. So there's this debate, right, like of leadership getting out of the weeds of the business, right? We're just going to use AI, and we're not going to do anything anymore, and we're just going to be the CEO. And what I see happening in organizations all the time is that when leaders lose their visibility into the work, they start making decisions with incomplete information, right? So we've all heard of the easiest example is the manufacturing environment, where you've got the executive team up in the top, and they're making all these decisions, and you've got somebody that's worked for the company for 25 years making something down there. It's been doing it. They're super, super smart. They know how to do it, and they've had this idea for the last 5 years that could totally transform the organization and make things more efficient, more profitable, more whatever, and nobody ever talks to them and nobody ever asks them. And so as a leader, being able to get down into the weeds, sometimes intentionally, maybe I go to a store and make drinks so I can make sure that my processes are secure, that my customer service training is good, and that my people like working for our company. And what does that look like and feel like? Otherwise, we get this detachment, and it breeds drift. And in organizations, that drift creates that disconnect, and we start losing, and we go back to our curve, and that's when that decline starts happening, right? I have like 20 more slides and 30 more seconds. And so I would love to anybody to share more about these things. And I know I took a lot of time on the other stuff, and that was purposeful because I think I want you to walk away certainly being able to grow and scale your business. I want you to be able to do that. And if you want to come in, I'll just finish this training and we'll have a good old time together. But I also want you to leave knowing that you're probably doing better than you think you are, that as you do better, is you give back and help others. The satisfaction of what you're doing and the why behind it will be there, and you will find more joy in what you're doing. I will tell you that your ability to scale a business is not all reliant upon you. It's reliant upon you helping other people, you building other people, you leading and guiding people to be better humans for themselves. When you think of environments like retail, restaurants, and you hire, let's say, 16-year-olds or even 20-year-olds, how long are you going to get them for? How long does your average employee, right? 6 to 18 months, right? How do you get the most out of them and have them have a fantastic experience? I have employees from my video game store days that come back to me and say, thank you for teaching me things that have helped me in my career going forward. Instead of just trying to maximize the work and get all of this out of it, right? If you're giving back to them, they're going to give back to you, even if you only have them for a short amount of time. If they have a good experience and you can teach them things that will help them, work ethic, a lot of you are raising kids. There's not a lot of opportunities to work anymore, and a lot of our kids don't have to work, right? So when we have those opportunities as leaders to give those kids opportunities, let's do more than just try to maximize the return on the investment for them. Let's teach them things, right, and help them and be a good leader. It will help your business. So it was so random, and I appreciate your time. And if you guys would like to talk more, I would love to. Thank you.